Hello and welcome. In this video, I will show you how to create an invoice using Invoice Express. When you run Invoice Express, a blank invoice is provided to you automatically. The creation of an invoice is a two-part process. Part 1 is where you fill in the details of the invoice. You start by choosing the date for the invoice. By default, today's date is selected, but you can change this by selecting a date from the drop-down menu, which contains a calendar of dates. Next, enter in your invoice number and/or order number. You then enter the client name and the client address of who this invoice is going to be sent to. Next, you write the job address of where the work was carried out. Finally, you are given the option to select if this invoice is VAT and/or CIS applicable. This will add or remove VAT and/or CIS rates to the invoice's total. If your current job is liable for a reduced VAT rate, such as 5%, you can enter the VAT rate to be used for this invoice only. If the VAT or CIS rate changes in the future, you can change the default value by going to the User Customization form located in the Options menu. Once the details have been filled out, proceed to Part 2 by selecting the Part 2 tab. Part 2 is where you will write the description of the jobs that was carried out. Each row will represent an item that was carried out. In the first column, labeled Description, enter the details of an item that was carried out. In the next three columns, enter the quantity, then the labor and materials cost. Once done, you can move to the next row to fill out another item. If you provide a quantity, the program will carry out the necessary calculations. Invoice Express is flexible, where you can either provide a breakdown for each material cost or simply provide an item which covers all material costs. If you do not want a number to appear on the invoice, you can leave a field blank. Every item has its own total column to see the total price of that item. At the bottom of the table, you can see a breakdown for the totals for the labor, materials, labor plus materials, VAT, and the final total, which includes labor plus materials, VAT, and also CIS tax deduction. If the invoice was either not VAT or CIS applicable, these calculations will not be included on the invoice. If you ever need more rows, you can add more by right-clicking anywhere on the table, and from the drop-down menu you can choose to add 1 row, 5 rows, or 10 rows. You can delete a row by right-clicking on it and selecting Remove Row. If the row contained information, a message box will appear to confirm deletion. If the row is empty, it will be deleted without confirmation. Once you are done filling out your invoice, you can preview your invoice to see how it will look by selecting the Preview tab. You will see all the information you entered in Part 1 and 2, as well as your user details entered in the User Customization form on the invoice. If you want to space out items in your invoice, or to grow your invoice to take up a whole page, you can do this by adding blank rows. If you spot a mistake, you can simply click on Part 1 or Part 2 tab and make the needed changes and preview it again. Once you are happy with your invoice, Press the Save button on the toolbar above to save your invoice with the chosen file name and location. When you use the Save tool, you can open your invoice at any time and make any needed changes. Next, you can choose to print your invoice by selecting the Print button. It is important to note that you can only print your invoice in A4. Or, if you click on the Export button, you can save your invoice as a PDF file, which is an ideal format to electronically store it or send it via email to your client. Thank you for watching. Please visit our website for a free Invoice Express demo, and feel free to contact us if you have any questions.